Hi everybody, my name is Emiliano and this is Dreambound Guilo. I have never recorded my voice, ever, for any purpose. So actually listening to this, I realize how my diction and the way I pronounce words, the way I breathe into the mic, it's pretty, I don't know if it's weird. Y'all will let me know, I hope, in the comments. English is not my native tongue, so pardon me if my accent is weird and if sometimes I use the wrong words. Anyway, what I want to present to you is Drasyl Saga. It's a story project set in a world of my creation called Drasyl. This project includes lore, short stories, illustration, concept art, and a novel in the making. We'll get to everything in time as I build this project up. For the moment, let's talk about this illustration. As you may have noticed, it was drawn on top of some oldish art of mine that I had laying around. The lore for these creatures was already kind of formed years ago in a sort of like a nebulous way, but my skills and my design sensibilities were not on par with my writing, I think. These creatures comes from a place called Oroth, the city between worlds. This place is nestled in the shifting realm of the deep roads. The roads are an unstable and ever-changing domain, churning and branching out with the same speed with which it collapses on itself and wither out. The way I envision it, if you'll allow me like a video game comparison, it's sort of like an endless procedural dungeon with limitless configuration options. In the deep roads, time and space are relative concepts, and even mere access to the roads can be extremely complex. It's a place that is not a place, a dimension with no dimensions that exists both everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Nobody before the Orothians could claim mastery over the roads, much less build in them. The sheer complexity of this domain would have required a knowledge of the Eldritch so deep to be practically unfathomable. Only through the use of powerful arcane manipulations, the shifting realms of the deep roads can be stabilized, with rites articulate and layered enough to require a single arcanist's decades of rune tracing and glyph binding. Luckily for them, the Orothians spent centuries under the yoke of the Thousand Mothers of Maadath, the largest and most powerful congregate of arcanists the world has ever known. Assisting the mothers, they learned much about the fluxes that curse through the world, about the whisper necessary to ensnare their power, and about the deep roads themselves. Those who would become its inhabitants had fought and died for generations in the depths of the shifting realm. When the time came for them to claim their freedom, they retired into the roads to found their civilization, beyond the veil, far from the prying eyes of every other living being. Some scholars claim that the Orothians have a human origin, and indeed their lesser form does resemble the human shape. It perfects it really, to an almost paradoxical degree. At nearly 3 meters of height, Orothians tower above the tallest of humans. Symmetrical and coldly serene, they look like gods when compared to the humans inhabiting the surface world. Their speed, their strength, agility, and dexterity are naturally superior to those of their human counterparts, to the point that even an Orothian child, armed with nothing but their bare hands, would pose a serious threat to armored infantry. This magnificent form, which is already godly for the lowly humans, is one that the Orothians actually despise. They live their life in their exalted form as much as they can, choosing to rise above their lesser form for very long periods of time. Entire years even. The entire Rothian society revolves around the concepts of refinement, purification, evolution, and metamorphosis. The people of Earth strive to understand the world and its mysteries, and to climb the evolutionary ladder to its utmost pinnacle. Each and every member of this enigmatic people bears the red spiraling scar of the Crimson Brand, a mysterious affliction that grants its bearer the access to the exalted, monstrous form in which the Orothians spend the most of their lifetime. The tar-black flesh of the exalted spirals out of the Crimson Brand, enveloping the body in a matter of seconds, and granting the Orothians unparalleled power. Few are the creatures in the world of Drasyl that could go toe-to-toe against the Orothian warriors, and even those who could would never come out unscathed if they had the luck to survive the encounter. Stabilized through the mind-bending complexity of his permanence rituals, Oroth, the city between worlds, the black jewel of the deep roads, stood for millennia beyond the veil, unbothered by human affairs and by the fates of the world. In the shifting depths of the roads, the Orothians kept growing and building and learning, shedding further and further every trace of their mortal flesh in their ascension towards the perfect form. Alas, their obsession with purity and evolution would be the very poison that would slowly start to intoxicate their civilization, corroding it from the inside out. Centuries of evolution towards the perfect form had granted the Orothians incredibly long lives, advancements in the science of the arcane, in the knowledge of alchemy, in the refinement of their delicate and tremendous craftsmanship. But the price to pay was the highest. Generation after generation, the Orothians had become progressively more sterile, until they were not capable of conceiving offspring anymore. Birth rate had always been low for the Orothians, in part because of their incredibly long lifespan, with a handful of individuals being born every half of a century. But it was only at the apex of their civilization that the need for artificial procreation became an undeniable reality. No Orothian was then born through natural means, but through runic rituals and alchemical ingenuity instead. The offspring produced by such means became the majority of the population in the span of a few generations, to the point that the artificially born served as a base for the creation of the subsequent generations. Resampling the already artificial biological matrix caused a rapid degeneration of the Orothian bloodline, giving birth to a progeny progressively more degenerate. The characteristic tar-black pigmentation of their exalted flesh became paler by the generation, and soon the children of Oroth lost their ability to revert back to their humanoid form. The new generations were pale, unstable, prone to madness and to dream sickness, growing ever more unpredictable, demented, and violent with every passing decade. The Orothian civilization, which had lasted for millennia, reached its twilight in a little more than a century. In the hands of the snow-white children of this dying society, knowledge became frayed and confused, and the delicate balance of the rites necessary to stabilize Oroth amidst the incomprehensible chaos of the deep roads was lost. About a century and a half after the birth of the first pale-skinned Orothian, the city between worlds fell. With the permanence rites forgotten and neglected, the city was shattered, torn apart, its pieces left to drift in the maelstrom of the deep roads. Every now and then, fragments of Oroth hurled away from the churning chaos of the roads embed themselves in the physical reality beyond the veil, allowing humans a chance to glimpse at the inscrutable secrets of this lost civilization. Sometimes, along with a shard of the city, one of its inhabitants manages its way to the surface world. These creatures are feared across the whole of Drasyl as one of the most fierce, most terrifying, and most unpredictable foes known to mankind. They are known as White Terrors. Part 2 of the video is coming soon. I've got a lot more stories and a lot more of the world of Drasyl I want to share. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in me discussing specific art subjects besides my stories and the mythology of this world. If you want to know about my thought process, my design process, how I approach painting, whatever you want. There's also a bunch of other subjects that interest me quite a bit and that I've been thinking a lot about. Like, for example, what's the role of AI in the creative process and in the life of artists? Or at the very least, what is its role in the world I would like to live in? Whatever you're interested in and you want to talk about, let me know in the comments. I'm a chatty guy. I like to talk. So bring it on. Let's talk about it. I hope more and more of you will join me to discuss art, lore, stories, and especially to have fun. To that end, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, force your mama to subscribe if you have to, your grandma, siblings if you can bully them into it, like the whole YouTube thing. Anyway, I'm Emiliano, this is DB Guaylo, you've been awesome, and I hope to see you in the next one.